Hello and welcome back to Leeds United, where we've got Europa Conference League action. We drew Valencia, but we did beat them 4-3 in the first leg. They played the player that we've technically sold to them in the form of Liam Cooper at left back. He's on loan, but he's guaranteed to go at the end. So they also have Hazard and Harry Winks for some reason. Also, James Tarkowski's on their bench. But before we deal with the home leg of that encounter, we do have Spurs in the Premier League, where we remain 7th thanks to 2 victories over Norwich and Middlesbrough. Neither of those quite as dominant as I would have liked, but 6 points is 6 points, whichever way you look at it. So there's still very much 3 from 4 in that bottom section of the table as well. Newcastle is still a good 9 points clear, even if their form is horrendous of late. Again, but we've picked our form up. We remain 7th. Aston Villa only 1 point behind. Brentford 2 points behind. We've got a game in hand on those. We also have 2 games in hand on Chelsea, whose form also of late hasn't been spectacular. 1 win in their last 5. So if we were to win either of our 2 games in hand, we go ahead of them. If we do win our game in hand, then we are only 2 points behind Wolves in 5th. In fact, of course, the game in hand is simply just this one, but it is against Spurs, who haven't had a fantastic season with Pochettino, although I do believe he has been sacked. And they hired this guy who is unbelievable. Lacking in tactical knowledge, but is just simply their head of youth development. Striker Sitalo changed whether or not they like playing each other or don't like playing with each other on a weekly basis, it seems like at the moment. That line was actually a green line last time I saw it, so again, baffling. We are only a couple of days removed from that Valencia game, and some people not looking spectacular. I feel like Strike can get away with things. I feel like Sitalo and Evan and Dicker maybe not quite so much. There's a relatively rare appearance for Pavlovic, who's going to go into the middle because he's can't pass. I feel like Milovanovic and Bamford are okay up front. Midfield rotates in again, so it'll be Meslier in goal. No need to change him. Strike, Pavlovic, Cresswell, Skov and Christensen. Obviously, the fullbacks are largely much the same, all 4 of them, so really just swapping those over doesn't change a great deal. Rocker and Almada, similarly in the midfield. It's only really Szoboszlai who's kind of that extra moment of quality ahead. In fact, what's happened to Tyler Adams? He played last game. He was tired. And then Bamford, Milovanovic and Sinistera. Milovanovic up to 19 goals for the season. Bamford up to 13 goals for the season. Pedro benched for this one just simply for being more tired than the others. 14 goals for the season. They're doing the job. Weirdly, my next highest goal scorer is still Van den Boomen with 5. You can't see because he's behind my head. But when you play with 3 strikers, I suppose the opportunities aren't really there for the others all that much. Some huge changes for the Spurs team though. Kane out, Son out. Oliver Skip out, I think we'll cope with that one. But Daka, Richarlison in, Basuma in, who I presume is actually probably developed. I don't know what he's like in this year's game. One of the better talents of last. Also, he's still asking me why is Skov playing in a different place today, despite the fact he's only ever played at left wing back. For me, one day I think the press might understand I don't play him as a right winger, or inverted winger, as I suppose the case would be. They're playing Jed Spence in this game, and can't but feel they're not taking it seriously, although Cresswell, also similarly, not taking it. Strike is an absolute genius. What? How is that a penalty? The ball clearly has been acquired by Strike by the direction that it travelled following the challenge. Strike clearly kicked the ball away from that guy's feet. I think it was Daka. How could that possibly be a penalty based on the animation that I saw? Oh, I don't like ragging on the engine every single time, although this is something that's persisted across match engines, in fairness. The inability for it to correctly animate a penalty challenge, that's something that's been persistent over basically every generation that I've been playing it for. So, also I'm still being told to reduce the gap between my forwards and my midfield. Apparently, in the modern game of football, you're not allowed to play without attacking midfilders. I was about to say it's a little bit weird. It doesn't challenge me on that for midfield and defence, but then I just remembered the wing backs. Basuma, Daka, Udogi, how do you pronounce that? Richarlison shouldn't get there first. He doesn't get there first, but Christensen stops with the ball and presents him with it effectively. But similarly, Richarlison does it back as Sinister takes the heavy touch, gets tackled, regains the possession, has another heavy touch and gets dispossessed again. And that's a brilliant goal for Lo Celso. Annoyingly, this highlight doesn't go far enough back for me to be frustrated by what I saw in the preceding 10 seconds before where this restarted, which actually might be a blessing because I might pop a vein. I don't want to hate the game, but you're making me hate the game. Also, apparently, Giovanni Lo Celso is running this game. Ironically, a player who I think is actually at Valencia in real life, on loan. Right. What are you doing, Mark Rocker? What is that? I think Daka's about 18 yards offside, but I'm slightly concerned that there was a defender just randomly in the middle still. It looks like there was. Oh, no, he just got the run on everyone. Nobody reacted. Like, he looked like he was 18 yards offside, but just for some reason, this player here, Strike, just decides to not bother. They've had 4 shots, 3 have gone in. One was a penalty, admittedly, but it's one of those games for Melier. What was that? Get your acts together and start playing football. If the match engine will allow you to. And Lo Celso's come off, so that might be a saving grace. Can't believe I'm saying that. Berate. We've got the ball. Rocker. First touch. I mean, another heavy first touch, immediately dispossessed by Højbjerg there. I am wondering, that nearly just deflects in, I am wondering if to play on a higher tempo is the best thing to do, because then it minimises the amount of time your player takes first touches, because they'll try and pass it first time. This Basuma nearly scores a wonder goal there. In a similar way that sort of telling your players not to press their goalkeeper prevents them hoofing it over the defence, I'm wondering if the way to avoid heavy touches is to just make sure they don't take more than one touch. I mean, I'm already on the highest tempo regardless, so I can't really do much about that. And this game has just continued playing because apparently pause doesn't work anymore. Zoboszlai's going to have to come on, as is Tyler Adams. The defence are actually having an absolute shock. Mele is on a 6.1 because why wouldn't he be? Bamford, the only competent player in the front line, is the one who's most tired, and we do need to preserve him, annoyingly. I'm going to take Milovanovic off for Pedro as well in the same breath. It's 4 changes. That's their player. I think that's Abel Ruiz. Yeah, remember him? Who haunted me last year, just followed me around for some reason. Just ended up with the teams that we ended up playing constantly. But wonder kid of bygones past. Skov, Planar, on you go. I mean, it's still Berate even if we score. Magno passes it to Alfie Devine. Passendak has taken 3 heavy touches and nobody's even bothered to try and take the ball off him. Every single one of these touches by Sessignon has been a heavy touch and it's taken us ages to press him down. Dier, Tanganga's in all of the space. Moved out wide, Ruiz. It's going to be red card for Strike, isn't it, eventually, I think. Richarlison's headed the ball. It's gone in the goal. It's a goal. I don't know why we're questioning this one. This is genuinely the worst performance I've seen from my team all season. Now, don't get me wrong. 3 of those goals are nonsense. This one is fairly legitimate as just a regular goal. Like, there's no real sketchy match engine nonsense here. This is 100% legitimate. But the other 3, not so much. But no, this is just fine because in fairness, my defender doesn't jump. So there is that. It's almost like it's just distributing each of these goals in a different way the match engine is failing us. And that's just a ridiculously heavy touch from Marvin Plattenhardt. He's got the ball back. He stopped and turned, got dispossessed, but he's got the ball back again and nearly scores. But once again, we saw the wonderful stop and turn and be dispossessed again there. That's been hoofed randomly to Strike, who's going to gather it, pass it to Melier, pass it to Cresswell, pass it to Christensen. Now, Christensen's got a lot of space to run into here. Does have an assistance, although going alone, taking multitude of heavy touches. Sinisterra's now got it. Still got it. He's kicked it against the defender. Apparently that's a goal kick. Apparently came back off Sinisterra before he went out. Still can't berate my team again. I don't understand why my team are so far away from the opponents when they're on high press. So when they do a heavy touch like that, they can't get the ball. Also, I love the fact that every single one of these goals has been referred to as being offside when they're on. I don't think I've actually seen a goal be discounted in about 4 years. Just in the middle of our, what is our team doing? Like, the central defender in the middle is just 4 yards ahead of the other defenders for some reason. Even my fullbacks are in line. Just the one person who's actually marking Passendak is on the wrong side of him. I don't want to hate this game. And Melier's come out of this with a 5.9. None of those goals are his fault, really. I don't know how easy they were to save, because I don't know how accurate the match engine is in regards to shots. But why the defence aren't on 5.9s, I don't know. Somehow they've come out of that with a 6.2. The one person who's at fault for all of those goals, Pavlovic pretty much, 6.4. And considering they rotated, dread to think what would happen if they'd had Harry Kane. So this was the only gentleman who seemed to have a modicum of potential for my youth intake. He's a fullback, so great. The one position we didn't really need because that's the right-hand side, but Livramento is. If he'd been a left-back, I'd have been overjoyed, but unfortunately he is right-footed, so it's not like he's just developed on the wrong side for some reason, as they sometimes tend to do, but kind of a rarity in the sense that, I'm saying rarity based on last year where basically no youth players had physicals for some reason. He's come through with some physicals at least, but nothing else. But of course we will actually now train him as a wing-back right, because that's what we play. I won't force any additional focuses, although off the ball he's hilariously bad. But yeah, he was the only one. There was someone who might be 3.5 stars, and that was it. Everyone else was terrible. Although he does have a fantastic name, that chap. So, Mad Shubivella, Don't know if it's meant to be pronounced a different way, but Manchubivella, for some reason, a Danish person's come through our academy. Don't know how that's happened. But yeah, this is the only one. Christoph Crickshank, I think it's pronounced. But yeah, maybe 3.5. Doesn't even play in a position where we play. Although Valencia apparently don't have a manager, so that's interesting. I honestly forgot about Oscar Gluck. And actually, as we talk youth intake, let's just have a reminder who's on loan and if... No, none of them are doing any well. Apparently, Ola Einer's average rating is 0. I guess that's 2 bench appearances. But yeah, none of them are exactly covering themselves in glory. Stuart Dallas, of course, is out of contract at the end of the year anyway. Couldn't sell him. Same with Greenwood at Hull, who scored 14 goals but averaging 6.88, so clearly an all-or-nothing player. But Gluck, of course, we loaned back to Tel Aviv just because he was never going to get any form of homegrownness. Is developing a little bit. Fortunately, he was brought in to be that person eventually, but at least he can play central. As a Mazzala with 5 tackling, although I don't know how useful tackling is in this year's game. Maybe worth loaning out again because he's not really developed that well. Ulanor not playing great in terms of average rating, but nor is he developing too much either. Could be the useful backup for us next year if we feel like Marvin Plattenhart's age is getting to him. But I think Marvin's still got another year in him. They're kind of the main ones to focus on. By the way, if you want to know the ridiculousness of our draw in the form of the fact that we got Valencia, who are undoubtedly the strongest team in this, yes, there's a match here between a Croatian team and a Polish team. Again, got Vienne. AEK got Zoya. So, you know, there were teams there to have drawn. We got none of them. We got Valencia. Realistically, Valencia or Udinese would have been, and Freiburg, probably the only 3 that I would have felt questionable against, and we got the worst of them all. The good news is, of course, if we do get past Valencia here with our 1-goal margin away from home, then that kind of really opens up the draw for us. But the good news, of course, is everyone's kind of fit again. Pascal Schreit's a little bit off, but otherwise, we are okay. Milovanovic and Bamford actually surprisingly all right, having had a rest immediately after the game. Not that he deserved one, but in order to be fit for this one, I prioritise fitness over my anger, and Tarkowski's actually playing this game. Valencia lineup with 3 British people in that lineup, because Cooper's Scottish, of course, can't make that mistake. 2 Englishmen and 1 Scotsman. Apparently they lost to Mallorca over the weekend. Felt like we loaned someone to Mallorca. I think that's where Brendan Aronson is. So managerless Valencia on a poor run in the domestic, still scored 3 goals against us as that ball goes straight over our defence, and none of these... Oh, that one finally was punished. Plattenhart moves inwards, just hoosted at Liam Cooper. Forgot he doesn't play for us anymore, I guess. Pedro finds Bamford, finds Milovanovic. That's lovely. It's being called back maybe for offside. Oh, it is offside. Not seeing the replay for it. Didn't look offside to me, that one. So I wonder if it was Bamford in the build-up. And Dicker gets in the way of that. Bamford finds not the dude in the middle because he was offside. Milovanovic. Livramento's just gone all the way in. Pulling it back. Bamford's at the back post. Absolute poacher goal. Doesn't matter. Counts. And the margin is 2 goals. Basically, all we've got to do this is not cock it up as the replay camera reflects itself again. I don't know what causes this, but that just hoops off of the defence. Florenzi out-jumped by Bamford. Florenzi's one of those players that's older than I realise he is. I think he's probably 33 or 4 in the game by now. It's just because he sort of went on loans in his latter years. It just kind of feels like he's younger than he is, just because it feels like he's probably been loaned out in the beginning of his career rather than the end of his career. But yes, 33. Also, if I remember rightly, he was weirdly loaned to PSG rather than from. Bamford, Plattenhart. That's a good ball for Bamford again. He's put it across for some reason. Shoot, Patrick, shoot. Pedro, though, can try and recycle this. Back to Livramento, puts the ball in. Bamford's there again. I mean, he should have scored himself earlier than that, but it's good from us to begin with. And got to remember that all my shouts have to be done off the basis of 2 legs here. So I think it's a praise because it's a 2-goal margin. Although it's not gone through yet. Plattenhart keeps that ball in, and I was margin concerned he was just going to give it away straight away. And Dicker, just because he took, a literal age to do the turnaround, as they tend to do at the moment. Strike, Zobazai, out to Livramento. Ooh, Pedro's in. Pedro, 15 goals for him. Has he gone to the World Cup? I know Pedro's gone to the World Cup, but I don't know if it's that one. Livramento, I mean, it'd be weird if he did, because he's at Watford still, I think. But 6-3, unless he went out on loan somewhere for the season. In real life, Florenzi. Cavani, Florenzi, gives it away. Plattenhart with a ridiculously heavy touch, but they've got away with it. Pedro, pushed out wide, just shepherded a little bit. For some reason, Livramento leaves that ball for Sestalo, of all people. What is going on with this highlight? Plattenhart, back to Dominic on the edge. He only scores bangers. Now he's laid it off and failed miserably. This highlight continues with Sestalo. That's ambitious. Livramento gets the clearance. Back to Pedro. Bamford's there. Oof, Florenzi's right on the line. Plattenhart's in the box now and gives it away. And Dick, I don't know what happened there with Planart to sort of stopped for Florenzi. Yunus Musa's playing for them. I always forget he's at Valencia now. That's bounced a few times. Melié's gathered. I think there was a highlight in there somewhere. They even count as a shot. Oh, it did. But 3-goal margin now. Livramento. Pedro. Where are we going? Back to Tino. Put the ball in. Or give it to Satalo with a really risky back pass, kind of. Adams leathers it. Wasn't going to let Dominic have all the goals, it seems. Anyway, corner for Platinart. Is that Bamford on near post? Why is Bamford near post? I swear I told the central midfielder to go with him, but never mind. Right. I mean, in terms of overall performance, this is very much Jekyll and Hyde. Platinart to put the ball in. Like, where was this level of performance against Spurs? And I can't even blame that on a rotated team because they had a rotated team. Hazard, dispossessed. Not even a yellow card for Marvin there. 60 minutes on the clock, remains 6-3 on aggregate. Marvin to put the ball in. Nobody jumped, really, I don't think. Hazard's running clear. Gives it to Yunus Musa, who's outfoxed my defence with that straightforward, normal run. Liam Cooper, of all people's, in our box now. As, oh, Match Engine, what are you doing? I mean, sure, that happens in real life, but and you don't see it. To be fair, I've not seen that all that often. Am I going mad, or does Ellen Road look insanely massive? Is Ellen Road a 3-tier stadium in real life? I mean, I've been there, not inside it, but vaccine station, just to clarify. Yeah, Marvin Platinart. Where's this going? Nowhere. Strikes under it, though, to put the ball back in. Tarkowski clears, and Cavani's the one to run onto this with his probably 5 pace at this point. Yep, already stopped. Hazard, Musa, Tony Lato, who for some reason isn't starting ahead of Liam Cooper. Musa, Thiago Mendes, Musa. What is happening? Out to Florenzi on the other side. Forward to Drissi, and Cavani's... I mean, he's by himself in the box. It looked like he was offside. He is offside. I did question that. Oh, he was nearly played on by... I guess that's Evan and Dicker, actually, nearest to Drissi there. But Marvin's about to take a corner. In fact, I'm actually not going to make any subs. Yeah, because no one's actually massively tired. Strikes headed down. Never mind. Back to Marvin. Second time's the charm, Marvin. Nope, just kept that in play long enough just to be dispossessed. He's got that clearance, though. What is that touch? I mean, that felt like it defied physics. Bamford. His highlight has continued for some reason, so I am now concerned because they're in possession. Cavani surely can't be through on goal there. Now we're in possession as it goes to Satalo. Back out to Marvin. Firm friends from a different universe. Dominic, who's that through to Milivanovic, and he's actually on the end of it. Oh my god. I mean, that was one of the mutest oh my god. I was almost sort of stunned that it worked more than anything. This, I mean, it's an assist for Dominic, but it's kind of a half volley. Marco keeps it in the air. It bounces once, but Marco keeps it in the air and then half volleys it. That's fabulous for Marco Milivanovic. I feel like he's been quiet for a couple of games, but don't keep him quiet for too long. 20 goals now for the season for Marco. Oh, all right. Just enough time for Melié to do a Melié, I guess. Leeds United were caught napping by Valencia. I wouldn't really blame the whole team for this one, although Evan and Dicker clearly could have done more there. Kind of a little bit on Melié there for doing what he did. What is Melié's eccentricity? Because I don't think it's low. 10. Shout out to a £5 million goalkeeper, though. Tyler Adams, tired? Yep. Gagliardini. Yeah, we'll give him some game time. Why not? Skull for Platinart. A little bit tired. You know, let's just freshen up the entire midfield. Mark Rocker's left-footed. On you come, Sunshine. We've had 10 shots on target. 10. But only 2 clear-cut chances, and we've scored 3 goals. So we'll take that for the time being. I mean, that's a good head-on, but unfortunately, João Pedro wasn't really paying attention. Milivanovic with an insane challenge there. Bamford has got the measure of Tarkowski and hit the post. That might be another clear-cut chance, unfortunately. Cavani. This highlight continued and has now ended. I don't know how that wasn't classed as a clear-cut chance. Did class as a woodwork as, well, this should stay in for Livramento to get on the end of, and he's gone all the way to the byline. Unfortunately, there's not really a lot of men in the box. Satalo. Oh, all right. Josip. All right. I mean, safely does it. We've made 3 substitutions. I suppose we could waste time at the end here with 2 more. Tino with 2 assists. Christensen on. Bamford with 1 goal. Sure, Gelhardt. Have like a minute if there's even a time for you to get on the pitch. Skov. Where are we going, Skov? All right. It's 3-goal margin still, so why not? Very little risk. Apparently their goalkeeper's in no rush to take this goal kick. You're 3 goals down. I mean, not a lot you can do about it at this point, but I don't know why he's not trying, at least. Skov. Where are we going? Skov? There we are. Oh, no, actually, that wasn't the end, but we saw that off. Yeah, good performance. Kind of matches the XG, although we did let in 1 out of 2 shots on target. I don't want to have to improve Melié, but positively chuffed for a couple of people there. You're my kind of people. I mean, Marco Valavanc's goal is ridiculous. Well, yeah, that effectively dispatches probably the toughest team remaining. I genuinely have no idea what's happened to all the other, or even like the Europa League knockout teams. Southgate was there. Only looking at Patrick Bamford. Tino, you haven't like declared for Italy, have you, or something? Nope, still declared for England for now. Oh, he actually isn't even Italian. I just assumed he was from his name. Portuguese is other nationality. Eligible for Scotland too. 17 days till... 17 days? What the hell's happened here? FA Cup weekend, probably. 17 days till Newcastle. Oh, they're awkwardly arranged 2 games in between. Why are we playing Wolves on a Tuesday? I suspect that Wolves game is going to get moved once we actually have the draw, which I think is tomorrow. We'll do the draw in the episode and see what happens with that Wolves game. Because there's a very good chance if that Wolves game gets moved, we'll do basically the same system here with the Man United game and then the second leg. And this apparently counts as the latter stages, so board's happy with that. So they're the 3 worst teams remaining. Also, yeah, Genk and Ghent. That's not going to be confusing. Let's start this draw with Becchio in his Norwich shirt. AEK, Osijek. Okay, there goes the easiest one apparently. Watch us get Freiburg. Udinese didn't even get through. Galatasaray. Oh, there's Freiburg. So we get Ghent, who I think are... They're the ones with the inexplicable Native American badge. Well, they're currently 5th in the Belgian league. I mean, Genk are 12th, so... Alright, I mean, shout out to Lommel there, who I think are very much upsetting the odds. In Belgium? Indeed they are, they're recently promoted. Go on, Lommel! I don't know why I'm now rooting for that, but interesting that this is our formation. Wait, does this adapt to your formation? Because if so, that's a nice quality of life change. Although I think these might be wingers rather than forwards. No, it just adapts to whoever the better players are. That would be great if that was a thing, but no. Alan Pardew has become Crystal Palace manager. Well, I missed that, because he's now officially left Bulgaria, didn't he? As much as he's a bit of a meme, I do think he has been underrated here, because he can be a decent manager on his day. Notably that, one Newcastle season. And of course, we now have to do the semi-final draw as well. Ghent versus Leeds versus Genk versus Ferencvárosi. So this could be Ghent. We could be playing Ghent then Genk. And obviously, by process elimination, the other 2 are on the other side. The Wolves game has indeed been moved, so we will do exactly the same thing with Man United and Ghent. Well, if you enjoyed this, which was, well, I said it in the episode, a very much Jekyll and Hyde episode, then do give us a like, do give us a subscribe, do give us a comment. It all helps. It all works out. I've just realised we're not drawn in 2 months. Ironically, the last team we did draw with were Manchester United. Until next time, ta-ra.